Okay guys, so basically what I did is I took a photo of my face and then did exactly what we've done previously with Adobe Illustrator and made myself a portrait. I made my document in A4 size to start with, but it doesn't really matter if you don't make it that size. Now what you need to do is go to File, Export, and Export as. And you want to export this as a PNG file. Whoops, maybe don't do that. Maybe we can go to File, Export, Export for Web, and it's got a PNG file there. You can see it's got a transparent background and I've got my face there, which is perfect. Now I can save this as something memorable in a folder where I know that I'm going to use it, which will be Design Fundamentals, and I might create another folder called InDesign. From here, we're going to move into how to create a magazine cover using your face and the basics of InDesign. Okay guys, so to open up InDesign, you go into your Start menu and type IND, and it should bring up InDesign. Your version might look a bit different from the version I've got, but I'll take you through some of the basics. While this is loading up, hope everyone's having a great day. Now, this program, InDesign, is used for laying out magazines and newspapers. Of course, that's a dying art. So now it's used for PDFs and all kinds of interactive stuff. We'll get into the basics and hopefully that will set up a good design techniques for you to use, because when it comes down to it, good design is good design. It doesn't matter how flashy or what it does, but there will be options and videos coming up which will show you how to do interactive things and all kinds of wonderful things like that. Okay, so you go to Create New, and it will send up eventually a box which will say A4. So you want to create an A4 sized document, and what you'll be facing right here is you'll see that there's a big white page that looks about A4 size, and there's also a blue line on the inside. So a blue line on the inside is just a guideline for you to keep all your information inside of. So the features are very similar to other programs. Type tool would work very similar to just drag a box and type in your title. I'm going to call it Mr. Dawson Book Work. Now you can't see the text, but if you hold your type key over the top, you'll notice the box disappears. You can highlight it and you should be able to edit it using all the tools up the top. You can throw in a really cool font if you want. Blake, you know my favorites is Bookwork. Bookwork. My favorite is Impact. You can stretch that up using size. Now if you want this to fit really neatly, you'll notice something happens. If I make this too big, it drops it into another line, or you might get a red cross on the screen. There's also cool little functions like stretching the font out sometimes, or this one which increases the space between the fonts. Now that's pretty much jammed in as tightly as it can go. So I'm going to center the font using up the top here, and we know that fits in really nicely. So we're going for a magazine cover here. So we've got very similar to Illustrator and Photoshop. If you press F7, it brings up your layers menu. It also, up the top of this, will show you a pages menu too. So when you get to doing multiple pages, you can add pages using this page menu, or you can right click and duplicate pages. But we'll stick with one page today. So we've got our layers. I'm going to double click on this and call it my text layer. It's light blue. I'm going to add another layer and call it images. This is where I'm going to bring in my picture of me. So there's two ways to do it. You can either draw, you can see on the toolbar there's a rectangle frame tool, which is a frame that you'll insert a picture into. If you click and hold, you can do round frames and polygon frames. I've never used a polygon frame. Another way to do it is to click on your black arrow and just press Control D or File, Place. Like Illustrator, you can paste your design, your images in from there. So we've got my PNG file there, and it looks like it's got a black background, but don't freak out about that. If you click and drag through the majesty of the transparent PNG, you'll see I've now been digitalized and put into this artwork. Now I'll quickly show you the function of these two arrows up the top. The black arrow is to move the artwork itself, and you can tell that's the artwork layer because it has a red box around the outside, and my images menu has a red box around it. I'll lock my text layer. The white arrow is if you want to edit the size of the object in the frame. So once more, red arrow is for the frame. So if I drag this frame across, you'll see it'll cut off half of my body. It's still there. It's just the frame around the outside of the painting has cut it off. So if I bring that back out, you'll see I'll appear again. The white arrow, if I double click on my shape, I can move myself around this frame and I can make myself bigger in the frame. If you want to make something automatically fit in a frame, say I insert a picture and it is massive, I've copied it from the internet and it's really big on the screen, you can zoom out and change the size, or you can right click with your black arrow and go Fitting, Fit Content Proportionally, and it will automatically make it fit to the exact size and stay in proportion, which is really nice. Now I want to get rid of that line off the bottom. From here, you guys can do some really cool things like add new layers in and put different pictures in. Say I want to grab a picture of space, for instance. I'll go to Google and I'll look up space. And we'll see what we come up with here. A nice big image, hopefully. This one's pretty cool. It's not huge though, size-wise. Let's see if we can find a bigger one. That's much better. So I'm going to right-click and go Save Picture As. Add it to my Design Fundamentals InDesign folder. And then once again, I will import it in to my layer, which I'm going to call Background. And I'll press Control D. Hopefully we'll see what this looks like. This will come in really massive. If I click it, oh, it's not terrible. What you can do though is make the frame, so using my black arrow, I've stretched it to the exact, and it will click to objects. I've made it fit the exact frame. Now if I right click again and go Fill Frame Proportionally, it will fill the frame in and blow it up. Now all I need to do, like InDesign and Illustrator, if I drag my layer below it, now I've got an image there. Now it might freak you out that that looks a little low resolution. If I zoom in, it's a bit ugly. Whoa, where'd we go? Yeah, look at that. Chunky and gross. Even the picture that I've brought in of myself is chunky and ugly. If you unlock these layers, I'll show you a quick little tip. InDesign, to make it work really quickly, will deal with images in low resolutions. It doesn't mean the images themselves are low resolution, it just stops the program from crashing. So it may look really gross, but if I right click on that file and go Display Performance High, notice how I've suddenly become a lot crisper and it's worked a lot better. So I'll get rid of that, and now I'll click on my background and see if I can do that with the background. It's a picture taken from the internet, so I'm not expecting big things. Nah, see, it hasn't improved that a lot. So that's why it's important to grab an image from the internet that's really high quality. But for the point of this demonstration, I'm not going to waste too much of your time. So we know how to import images, we know how to do text. A couple of other cool features. F7, remember, brings up your layers. I'm going to lock these layers and then I'll show you a cool couple of things with text. So you've got the FX menu, exactly like Photoshop. So if you want to do something cool, like make your text stand out with an outer glow, so that black is getting lost there. So what I'm going to do is click on outer glow and start playing around with some of these menus. And we've got a white selected. If we play with the noise and the size, oh, we want the preview set too. There we go. See, if you can't see what's happening, hit preview and it'll come up. You can, that'll give you a really cool little outline. If you want to change the text, the color of the text, remember, use your text tool, put it, see there's a box around it. If you put it next to it, the box disappears. That's when you can highlight the text. And then you can go up the top here and you can change it to whatever color you want. If you want white or black, I'm going to keep mine black for the time being. Same as if you want to do an outline, you'll go to your window menu and there's a menu called stroke. If you click on that, I'm going to put that stroke and you can see it's already started putting a stroke color up here. So up the top you can change the stroke color to, say I want a pink stroke around the outside of that. It's going to look gross, but brace yourselves. That actually doesn't look terrible. You can start playing around with stuff like that. So what I want to see is you guys going to the internet and finding a barcode and putting that down the bottom corner and doing all kinds of cool things to make this look like an awesome front cover for your bookwork based on the topic of magazine. I'll show you guys one more time how to place an image. Now the reason why I don't want you guys copying and pasting from the internet is because another reason, Illustrator does this really cool thing of keeping images in, it has links to the images rather than the images themselves. So, so where's my F7? Okay, let's go images. We'll put it on that layer. Whoops. So what it does is you'll see what happens here. So Control D or place, file place. I'll put my barcode in the bottom corner. That looks all right. Might make that a bit smaller actually. So I'm dragging from the corner and holding shift, then I right click with my black arrow and go fitting, fill frame proportionally. That looks much better. Now it's starting to look like a magazine cover, which is cool. You've got all these shape tools as well that you can use and play around with. Now watch what happens to this. I'll show you a couple of cool features. So I'll save this quickly. Desktop, Design Fundamentals, InDesign, Book, Work, Cover, Mr. Dawson. I'll try to save this one and upload it to Daymap so you guys can have a look at the file itself, but it's nothing that tremendous. Now watch what happens if I go to Design Fundamentals and I delete this barcode. And I'll just paste it in another folder called Whoops. So if you got rid of the original images, this is why it's so important to save all your objects in a folder where you know where they are. Whoa, it's brought up this little red marker here, a little question mark. It's basically telling you that it doesn't know where that file is, which means that it's only going to be able to export a low resolution version of it. And so the cool thing about InDesign is if you hold your cursor over it, it will literally tell you missing, click to relink, alt click to open, links panel. So if I click alt click, it will bring up my link menu and you can see there the image barcode.jpg is missing. So I can relink it using the relink button and I know that that file is in there. So now it tells you that it's there. So I'm going to quickly do that again and show you guys. I'll move the barcode back out of Whoops into the original folder and it will freak out again. What do you know? It's freaking out again. So it tells me there's an image there, there's an issue. Also down the very bottom of the screen you'll see one error. If you've got a multi-page, if you've got a 200-page document and you've got one error like this, you accidentally delete a file, you can click on this, it will tell you exactly that there's a linking issue, there's a missing link, and if you keep double clicking, it will take you to the page where that image is, and there it is right there. So let's relink him again. Go InDesign, barcode, So it's important that you have everything linked up. Now another cool feature you'll notice, so say I put a text box in here and I copy a couple of quick things. I'll put this as a nice big font and I'll change my font to white, and I'll write something profound. Many of you will notice that there's, hopefully all of you will notice that there's a spelling error there, and it's not telling me there's a spelling error. So it's a really smart idea to make sure that you can copy and paste your text in Microsoft Word or something where it will spell check it. If you're not particularly great at spelling or you're copying a large amount of text, I always make sure I type it in Microsoft Word and then copy it across. Now, one problem that might happen is if you copy a whole bunch of text across and it doesn't fit in the box, it looks fine here, but you'll see a little red arrow come up there, and down the bottom it says 1 error. If I double click on this, it'll say there's text issue, overset text, which means there's too much text for the box, the space that you've allowed. So there's 2 ways to fix that. So I'll shut this down. You could either double click on the text, highlight it, and change the font down until it all fits on the screen, and now it all fits. It says no errors again. Or one thing you can do, which is kind of cool, is you can click on this red arrow and draw another box. And these 2 boxes are now interactive with one another. So if I make this box smaller and this box bigger, it will copy the text across. And conversely, if I make this one smaller and this one bigger, you can have 2 articles split across the page. You can split that as many times as you want. I can split that 3 times. And the beauty is if I delete this middle one, it doesn't delete any of the text. It only deletes the space where the text goes. So all of that text is still there, which is really cool. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave the file as it is. I think that's a pretty good introduction. What I want you guys to do is to try to put in a picture of yourself, or you could use one of the pictures you've already made of Robert Downey Jr. or anyone really. Save it as a PNG, import it into InDesign, put a title up the top with your name and bookwork, and this is going to be the first page of your Design Fundamentals bookwork. And your challenge is to put a background behind it and make it look awesome. You could throw some text on, you could throw a barcode on. Surprise me. Once you've done that, what you need to do is go File, Export, and you'll export it as an interactive PDF. Call it as bookwork cover your name, hit save. It will bring up this. Don't worry, that's inconsequential. We won't go into those details. Click Export. It will export it, and it will bring you up with a PDF that looks exactly like what you've made. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, guys, hope you're enjoying your time here. If you like this video, please give us a like, give us a comment, give me some feedback, shoot me an email, any of my students, and I will be following this up with a brief look at interactive features of InDesign. So that's coming up soon. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.